It's the Headshot Happy Hour. I'm Shondell Thomas, your host, and we are talking with Lauren Tudor today. Headshot Happy Hour is my contribution to the community, and it is my way of bringing forth interesting people who do dope things in the community, and they express themselves in some of the most creative ways. So Lauren, how are you today?
I'm well, Shondell. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm fumbling over my words right now.
You're doing great.
Trying to get my thoughts out.
You're doing great.
So who is Lauren Jones Tudor?
Ooh, that's okay.
I was told not to.
That's okay. I am Lauren Elyse Tudor. No hyphen. Jones is my maiden name. Who am I? I am a resident of Cincinnati of 10 years this year. I am a daughter. I am a wife. I am an entrepreneur. I'm an investor. I'm a leader. I am hopefully a catalyst for change. And ideally a person of integrity and trust and a spirited community builder.
That's nice. So what is a brand architect?
So I launched Architect Brand and Design Collective 2 years ago in the pandemic. And I never thought that entrepreneurship was going to be a thing in my life, or that I would ever launch a business in my lifetime. I was pretty content with working straight 9 to 5s, whatever position that was going to look like. And so a brand architect is something that I kind of came to over many years of my working life and career, where I found myself being the Jill of all trades with certain organizations. I was running the numbers, I was doing the research, I was figuring out what the impressions were, I was building the campaign, I was growing the awareness, I was leaning into strategy, I was trying to articulate the ambitions of the organization through relationships. I was trying to bring a lot of stuff to life. And a brand architect, the word architect came to me like right at the start of the pandemic, when everything was shutting down and the world was kind of forced to go inside and figure out what really mattered. I spent that time thinking, what do I want to do next? Where am I going to go? And I just kept coming back to the word architect. I had been fortunate to serve in these roles where my ideas were the catalyst of what was the bottom line, the next initiative or program of that organizations that I had served in. And so I was like, oh, all right, I'm gonna build a company and I'm gonna call it Architect. And in it, I'm gonna be a brand architect, and I'm gonna take these ideas that I have to either improve on a process or make something better, and I'm gonna grow that out. And so that's what a brand architect is to me, and that's what they do.
Okay, so, all right, so you strategize on how a company rolls out a campaign. Now, is it just for a campaign or marketing purposes, or are you like helping a company to like truly like tell their story like?
It's all of the above, yeah.
Okay.
Through Architect, one of the things I love is that I get to help entities, organizations, and individuals tell the story that they want to tell with compassion, courage, and creativity. Okay. So we are telling stories more, pointedly. We are building the strategy behind telling the story. It's a very actually specific process. We identify the challenges first, the pain points within an organization, and then we really devise a set of choices after that. And the organization or the client in this respect can really choose either a la carte or just carte blanche, just like, yeah, we're gonna go with all of that. And then we get to monitor what the outcomes are. Okay. And that's something, that formula is something I learned a really, 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 really long time ago on the Obama campaign. The way we tell stories is really specific. We always painted like little Timmy had a problem in X, Y, and Z area. And because little Timmy felt this way, little Timmy felt the need to make this decision. There's always a decision point. And then from there, you get to monitor the outcomes. So it's a very specific formula that I've been fortunate to use over and over again. And, it's a little game for people who can do it in their own ways that make sense for them. But it's how we run a lot of the strategy and logistics at Architect.
Got you. So now, marketing is your thing, but you haven't always been in this role. I mean, now you were, what was your role in some of your? Yeah,
sure. So I am a trained community builder at my core. I am also a fundraiser. Okay. I am a brand engagement strategist. I'm an awareness builder. And so I lean into that part of it because it has roots in the community building space. Really marketing and fundraising are so similar. They have the same principles at their core.
How so?
It's by getting people together under a common agenda.
I got you.
Quite frankly, it's the same type of style that community organizing uses, where you get people under a common purpose or a common goal that they're trying to seek. And so those 3 or 4 fields that I have been in the last 10 or 15 years, not 20, have really served me well, because I just take the principles from one, apply them to a different space wherever necessary. And so marketing right now, especially engagement marketing and awareness building marketing, really is my jam, because it allows me to pull on those levers however needed. But that being said, I still consult on fundraising best practices, and with clients that really want to grow their presence over the course of a year. And marketing comes through that, because there's a fair amount of awareness and appeals that need to be directed out there.
Got you. So when you were wanting to initiate a relationship with a specific donor or something, you need to make sure that you match up the mission of the organization with those values of the person that may possibly donate, right? Sure.
And in any scenario where you are kind of cultivating and stewarding interest, you always want to really go baseline and build a relationship. It's quite frankly, it's not flash in the pan. There's an art and a science to fundraising. There's an art and a science to marketing as well. Like I said, they have the very similar principles, where you want to establish relationship with one another. Can I trust you? Do you have my best interests at heart? How can we work together to build something great? It's really people getting together under the same goal and working together to make it happen. Philanthropy can be strategic, it can be responsive, it can be catalytic, and it can be impactful, but it matters how it comes together. It matters how it comes together.
Yo, I want to thank you for tuning in to this Headshot Happy Hour conversation. I hope that the conversation and the dialogue is one that you're finding inspiring and uplifting, because that's the whole concept of Headshot Happy Hour. It is my contribution to community. It is my way of diving into interesting conversations with interesting people who have a need to know. Everybody has a story, and we want to hear yours. So what I would like for you to do is reach out to me. You can DM me on any social media platform. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Let's have a Headshot Happy Hour. I look forward to hearing from you. Let's get back to the episode. How did you build how did you realize your passion for marketing and also community building?
Yeah, it all has the same root in community building. How did I realize that passion? I think, I started working when I was 15, and I mean, a lot of people have jobs slinging burgers. I started at Burger King, and you know what it was? It was working in the food industry, serving, waiting on people, really anticipating what the needs were, developed this thing in me where I wanted to be able to fill that gap for them.
Gotcha.
And so evolving past that type of labor and into more professional spaces where there's still some sort of anticipation, like how can we get to that goal, or report back on if these measurements are working. They to me, they have the same kind of application principles. Right. And so for community building, it was the love of people working and rowing in the same direction. And so when I was on the campaign, it was so cool to see so many young people and not so young people, young at heart individuals saying, this is what needs to happen for this nation. I'm really curious if I can see this in my lifetime, or I just feel like I finally have a voice. Nice. And I got to be the vessel to getting out the vote, building some strategy behind it, doing a ground game and all that stuff, with people who shared my ambitions and like-mindedness as well. Okay. Now, we may have grown up totally differently, but that's also part of the fun of it, because I would have never met, I'll stick with Timmy from Texas, if we didn't have this same kind of interest area. So I love community building because it just allows so much room to move and be a leader or show up to fill the gap wherever necessary.
So that's part of the learner in you.
Yeah, it is.
You like to learn people. You like to learn, different situations. We share that. Mm-hmm. We share that, commonality. I think one of the biggest things that I've always got. So I too started in the food service. I worked at Wendy's.
You gotta start somewhere,
forever.
Man.
I worked at Wendy's forever. That was one of the greatest jobs. I promise it was.
Yeah, it really was. It's disgusting, but it's a good job. Yeah. You learn a lot. I'll say it like that.
I learned a lot, and that's what kind of where I developed my passion for actually communicating with people, because. Working the drive-thru and working the cash register was my best thing.
Calm under pressure. Yeah. Working against adversarial forces.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Dealing with irate individuals and just like, okay, this is you. This isn't me. Not gonna ruin my day. And then just taking home that little measly paycheck, like, yeah, I gotta do better. I gotta do better.
But we thought we was balling at 15, 16
I really
years
did.
old.
I really did.
That's good. So, all right. So, I don't. So, one of the questions was, what was it like to work on the Obama campaign? But you already touched on it. It was. I would imagine it was an awesome experience. Me being a photographer, during both campaigns, I had an awesome time capturing just the excitement. For me, it was the first one. It was nothing like the first one. All of the excitement, all of the rallies, all of the different events that went on, just was awesome for me. But I always wondered what it was like behind the scenes for the people who were actually on the ground level, just, making things happen.
Yeah.
What was that like?
3 words: grueling but great.
I bet.
I was on that campaign the better part of 2 years. So I started when I was 23, I think. And I'm from Indiana. Okay. I'm from Northwest Indiana, if you know where Gary is.
I do know where Gary is.
Okay, cool. I actually grew up in Maryville, but nobody ever knows where Maryville is. So I always say that.
Gary.
I'm like, yeah, it's cool. But I started with organizing my neighbors, and then it grew out to the township, then it grew out to the city, and before I knew it, I was organizing Northwest Indiana and south side Chicago, south side of Chicago, parts of Cook County. And it was really wonderful to be so young, so green, and meet these people from different walks of life all over the place. And then I got this crazy call. I was temping. I didn't even have steady employment while I was on that campaign in the beginning. I got this crazy call on my way home from my little temp job at the time, and they were like, we have not seen this kind of activity in Northwest Indiana in years. Oh. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, I'm just talking to people. If they let me in their house, I'm going to their house and I bring cupcakes or snacks or whatever. Nice. Would you like a job on the campaign? And I was like, yeah. I mean, I'm living with my mom. I'm living with my parents at the time. I have like not a lot of prospects at the time. I said, yeah, where is the job? They said, Iowa. I said, oh. I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. I'm hang up the phone. I'm like, I don't know where Iowa is on the map. So it went fast after that. I left, moved, couch surfed in Iowa between two cities for 7 months and organized the 2012 caucuses out there, which is not a complicated thing, but basically it's just a straw poll just to see what the viability is for a candidate. Yeah. And because President Obama at that time was the incumbent president, he didn't necessarily have to caucus, but we did it to drive energy and momentum in the area across the states. So once I did that work, Ohio called and they were like, we really love what you did in Iowa. Would you like to come to Ohio? And I said, absolutely, I will come. Please do not put me in the sticks. That is the only condition I have. Don't put me in a very rural area. I'm not going to make it. More ways than one. Right. And so they said, we'll put you in Hamilton County. And I looked up where Hamilton County was. And I was like, it's probably Cincinnati. And I have been here ever since. So, yeah, opened the first campaign office here that cycle. And then subsequent ones around the county. And then more or less had to decide if I was going to stay in Ohio. And then started my nonprofit career.
That's live. So essentially, you marketed yourself indirectly. So through the success of the campaign and some of the strategies that you implemented, the word got out.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Pretty much. For Iowa, I was the only black staff, so out of 9. So it was like easy for me to stand out. But nice. By the time I got to Ohio, I mean, staff, the ground game in Ohio got to be upwards of 300 staff members. So, I mean, to this day, none of us all know who each other were. It's like, oh, yeah, probably. Everybody's mom was on the campaign at some point. And it was wonderful, but I really had a decision to make whether I was going to stay or whether I was going to go after that. I really didn't want to move back in with my parents, so I figured it out. I met a lot of people through coordinated efforts on the campaign as well, people who work for SEIU and ACLU and all these other entities, and they told me about other things that were going on in the city, and that's how I learned about public allies.
Nice, yeah.
And they were like, yeah, if you apply now, you probably could get in, and so I did, and it was just was supposed to be a temporary solution until I found something more permanent. I loved my experience in public allies.
Public allies.
I loved it. It fed everything that I loved. It fed everything that I needed. Yeah. It was people from different backgrounds again, different spaces of life, different levels of education and socioeconomic statuses in a cohort, in a program where we got to deal with privilege, race, class, identity, sexuality. And I was like, this is a thing. And I was fortunate to do 2 years here. I did my first year allyship. I always get the years messed up, 12, 13, and then 13, 14 as a fellowship year, where I got to manage 10 new first year allies and be placed in nonprofits to help build equitable capacity there. So I was actually placed at Planned Parenthood and the YWCA. And that's how some of those things started for me. I was placed there through my allyship year, and Planned Parenthood was blown away. They never had an ally before either, and they were like, we have to figure out how to hire you, and they did.
Yeah, so my relationship or my experience with working with anyone who has served through public allies has been, I worked with someone who, when I was at the American Red Cross first, and then when I moved to the Cincinnati Youth Collaborative, I worked with a couple individuals who came through public allies as well. Yeah. And they too ended up serving as employees with Cincinnati Youth Collaborative after serving. So some really wonderful people come through that organization. Now,
incredible.
One thing I don't know is how they structure what initiatives they will support. Like, how does that work? Is there like several different initiatives and then they just put teams to go towards that effort? Or?
I see what you're saying. They're called team building projects. I messed that up.
Okay.
They're called team something projects.
But how are you selected for a specific initiative?
Yeah, you first year ally, if I remember correctly, and it might be different now. This is almost 10 years ago now. First year allies are not given a subject area, but they're kind of guided in a direction that might deal with privilege, class, race, identity, or something like that. And they really unearth a problem, and then they try to put team service project. That's what it's called. Lord, that was driving me nuts. They put together a team service project that might address it.
Okay. So
really successful ally cohorts here in the city are behind the Evanston not the rec center, the Evanston, it's an admin building right on the corner of Montgomery and I forgot the cross street, but the Evanston Resource Center. Okay. Jeez, that was driving me nuts. The Evanston Resource Allies helped bring that to life.
Gotcha.
I don't know what year, but I know some of the alum from that year. And they have also been the brainchilds behind some of other really, if it's equity focused in the city, probably an ally probably was behind it.
Okay.
But that's the point of the program, to try to build a better world in relationship to one another, with using all the tools in your toolbox as well.
Nice, that's awesome. So you mentioned Planned Parenthood. I understand that you are on the board of directors with Planned Parenthood.
Yep.
I think that's awesome. Let me just ask my question.
Sure.
Let me ask my question, and I won't even try to. I was gonna drag that on, but what does the words free choice and free speech mean to you?
Yeah. Pro-choice and freedom of choice.
That was it.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's okay. I knew you were going.
This episode of Headshot Happy Hour is brought to you by Shondell Thomas Photography, a full-scale boutique photography studio located in the beautiful urban industrial community, Kent, Washington, which is located just 5 minutes from the heart of downtown Cincinnati. Shondell Thomas Photography Studio offers a wide range of boutique package print products, from books to canvases to beautifully crafted prints. Shondell Thomas Photography Studio is in the business of capturing memories that last more than a lifetime. We would love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out to us with any photographic idea that you might have. We can get as creative as you would like. Email us at askme@shondell.com. That's askme@shondell.com. Love to hear from you. Let's get back to the episode.
I'm a proud advocate, board member, patient, and donor to Planned Parenthood. I always like to lead with that because those are 4 very distinct areas where you can show up for an organization that really is saving lives out here, and truly cares about everyone who is walking and breathing alive on this earth. Preventative health care is absolutely necessary. Freedom to choose and pro-choice, to me, as a Black woman in this part of the country, means that I have ownership and autonomy over my own body.
Yes.
Really simple. Really simple. It means that the decisions I have with me and my doctor are the decisions I have with me and my doctor. Yeah. It's not government legislation telling me what I can and can't do with my own body. What we've seen in recent news cycles and what's happening at the Supreme Court is truly deplorable and heartbreaking, and incredibly disappointing for someone like me, who I do count myself as patriotic to a degree, but with the lived experience that I've had and the heritage that I carry, it's really hard to keep those ideals it means autonomy and ownership over my own body. And I would really love to continue working in the direction where poor women, historically marginalized populations, Black, brown, and other people of color aren't targeted in such a disgusting way.
Yeah, yeah. So when I look at, or I'm sorry, when I think about pro-choice, and I do think about people of lower economic status, people who are in uncomfortable situations that have, I mean, they're in situations where if something happens, it just so happens to happen, and there's a situation where it just would not work in their favor, they should have a choice.
Yeah, they should be able to decide what they want to do.
You're taking that away from a person that is already, economically disadvantaged or whatnot. Or, I mean, man, it's so many different scenarios without me saying it. Say, for instance, a woman was raped and she conceives a child. What? Why should she have to live with that if she chooses not to live with that? Why should she have to live? Why should that child have to live with that story or that narrative?
Yeah, exactly.
If it's a family that you can't take care of, we can't financially or
it puts an undue
emotionally,
burden.
yeah, it puts an undue burden.
Undue burden on people, already vulnerable populations that really this could be the difference between them and abject poverty in some instances. And really we live in a nation that is pro birth, not pro life. Yeah. They, once the baby is actually born, what measures are in place to sustain that life? So it's a really emotional topic. It's a very serious one that deserves much more thought than what I feel is currently being given to it. These things are highly polarized and have become ridiculous talking points to get elected versus someone's actual life who has to, live under these restrictions and mandates, and that's not a world I feel comfortable living in.
Got you. Thank you for your contribution to that. Every community that you have touched, man, I mean, I know you're dope personally, but I didn't realize how just dope you were, after doing research.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yo, I didn't realize these things. So, how can people reach out to you if they want to learn more about the services you provide?
You can find me and Architect online. The URL is www.architectyyourambition.com. I'm also on Instagram at Lauren Elyse Tudor. Elyse is ELYSE TUDOR. I'm on Facebook, but not really, and all other platforms as well. Do you want my email address as well?
Sure.
Okay.
Put it out
it's Lauren at architectyyourambition.com as well, and I'm really grateful that Architect is in existence, and I lead a team of Black engagement strategists that are equally as passionate about telling stories as I am.
Got you. So so this is like the benefit of having this platform.
Yeah.
So if I was to, I'm putting you on the spot.
No.
If I was to wanting to grow the Headshot Happy Hour.
Oh, okay. You want some advice?
I mean,
okay.
You could give us a small, like, just tell me, like, what would be one of the first tools that I would use that would help me to begin my journey of being successful.
Yeah, you are putting me on the spot.
Her wheels is spinning. Like, what do I say and what don't I say? Because you got to come back.
Yeah. I'm assuming you're doing promos already.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I think you put a challenge on your guests to help expand the reach and awareness by them sharing their own headshot happy hours in addition to other really exciting ones as well. That's one way. Another one is I would start like a waiting list and build some energy around getting in this hot seat. And yeah, the rest we can discuss on our discovery call.
Nice. There we go. There we go. Awesome, Lauren. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, Shondell.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is Headshot Happy Hour. I'm Shondell Thomas, and thank you for watching. I appreciate it.
Good.